In our last video, we saw one of the biggest hi-fi collections I have ever seen. Stacks of vintage Yamaha, Pioneer, Marantz, and JBL. But today, we're going inside to see the hi-fi holy grail collection that includes Sansui, Pioneer, JBL, Marantz, and Yamaha, and even more. Don't miss it, and stick around to the end for something really special. Alright, so we're going to start all the way down the bottom. This is called the Jumbo Jet from Kenwood. It's the KR6170. Look at all the controls that is on this receiver. We're going to go up to Sony. Remember I said Sony had some fantastic receivers? The STR V6 is beautiful. It's almost like military grade in the way they built this. And you put some green LEDs in there and it really pops. It's just a beautiful, great sounding, massive receiver. On top of that, you have the Pioneer SR202 reverb. Going over to the side, we got a Tascam 112 cassette deck, but underneath is something really, really cool. So underneath, we have the Phase Linear 5000 tuner. Like, look at the size of that tuning knob. And then underneath, you have the Phase Linear 4000 with that quad joystick right on the front. So it's a very rare piece, especially to find in this good a condition. So you have all the switches on it, but you got that special joystick down there that is just such a cool piece. Another really cool thing about these Phase Linears is they were actually featured in the background of the Godfather movies. And a lot of movies have hi-fi, but that's a really good one. We got a QRX999, so this is the same model as the QRX9001, but it's the European version. One thing you see as you tune this is the indicator goes up and down all the way across, so really cool. Look at that. Just go across, bounces up and down. I just think that's the neatest thing. All right, now here you have a Marantz 2325, and it's super customized. You have the black faceplate with the white writing. But another thing I really like about this is when you put green LEDs in the Marantz. I usually do it sometimes with the meter and just the entire front. I usually sometimes do it on the tuning dial as well, but do the entire front is green. I think it just pops. So crossing the green with the blue looks awesome. 2325, it's a 2-channel at 125 watts. So instead of a 2 there is the second number, it's a 3 because it's 100 watts. Very, very nice. Moving on over, we have the Sansui G9000. Now this is their biggest single piece receiver and my favorite of the Sansui lines. A lot of people like the 9090, but I like the G9000 because you have these massive knobs right on the front that as you turn them, you can just feel it so satisfying. When you use this receiver, have it hooked up, just touch the knobs, it's just amazing. You flip these, oh, it's beautiful. Now down below, another really cool piece, you have a Sony tuner, that's the 730 ES, but underneath, you have this E1000 ESD from Sony, and you can see across there, you have like a dynamic equalizer, so as you move the controls, you can actually move those lines up and down. If I put it on Hall, Opera, it's gonna change that EQ in the middle digitally. Disco, you see how it moves everything. It's a great feature on that Sony, super cool. And underneath, the TAN77ES, which is a very rare Sony piece. It almost looks like the Onkyo M500 series. Beautiful Sony with those glowing red meters. A lot of people put different colors in them, but red just looks fantastic. That's one of those things that newer Hi-Fi Rose has, those Sony meters that a lot of people don't really even know about. So just a beautiful piece. The glass is even etched and comes down a little bit. Awesome. So going over here, we have one of the SC5110 cassette decks, but all lit up so you can see it. Part of that AU set is just so amazing. And then you even have a timer on top, which is very rare. You don't see too many of these Sansui timers. Another thing you don't see too much of is this SR838 turntable. Look how well that is built. Just a beautiful turntable from Sansui. It's got that nice gloss finish to it. It's heavy duty. And it matches this set we got right here. Again, the TU717 tuner, one of the best tuners of all time, all lit up. And underneath, one that you really never, ever, ever see is the BA2000 power amp from Sansui. So you got those nice glowing meters. This thing is a powerhouse. It's so huge. You can change the meter range, change the levels, and of course, the matching preamp down the bottom, the CA2000 with the silver knobs and the black faceplate. Just a beautiful combination. This is a very, very rare piece. Definitely like a grail of hi-fi right here. And actually, there's a lot of pieces in this set that are grails. You got the biggest MCS ever, the 3125, all hooked up. You see how you have kind of the EQ built in there. So if I turn the knobs, that goes up and down. That is wild. And you get the power meters down the bottom going. So I think that's one of the most fun things I've ever played with there, the EQ on that. And even the tuning dials lit up. So going over here, you have RA500 reverb. So as you change the reverberation, it gets a little more blurry. Comes in there so you can see it. Oh yeah. Nice reverb. Now part of this Pioneer setup on top, you got the DT510 digital timer and the SQ9800 EQ. This is the EQ I talked about earlier, where all of these light up red and you can move them back and forth. Some people like the red, some people like the SG9500. Very cool how it lights up. Underneath you have a CTF1250. The cassette door just opens like that. You put your cassette in, boop. Close it when you're not using it so the heads don't get dusty. It's a pretty cool feature on that one. And we have the blue fluoroscan meters right there. They pump with the beat. You know, those meters just go across. A lot of people like that. And what's cool is the entire rack, the fluoroscan will do that at the same time. It's just wild when you put it all together. Now here you have another one of the timers, the DT400. Underneath of it, you have the Pioneer HR100 8-track player and another form of analog tape. Down below, of course, my favorite, the RT707, all lit up with those meters. And I think if we play it, that's what I like about this tape deck. You can just see those meters go and go and go. And it just adds some fun to your hi-fi. Now, one of Pioneer's best turntables ever, the PL570 right here, goes with the biggest Pioneer receiver ever made, the SX1980. So if you can see how just absurdly massive this is, all these knobs, everybody knows that I just love this receiver. And a lot of the Pioneer stuff as well, you know, the matching HPM 100 speakers, these got mounted to the wall on both sides of this crazy hi-fi display. They all go together with that turntable. It's just a beautiful set. Going over, you get the little more modern looking PL630. It's got that silver finish. If you look on there, just beautiful silver turntable. So whether you want to go full silver with, I would say this matches more of the fluoroscan models, or go with the wood grain 570 there, you could do that. Now underneath, talking about those fluoroscan models, you got the SR303 and the RG2. So you have the reverb and the dynamic processor, so you can expand the music a little bit. And over here, of course, you have the RT909. Now this one's in a custom wood cabinet. You don't usually see them in a wood cabinet, but a beautiful reel-to-reel one, you got that. And just, it makes this entire set really stand out. When you put stuff in it like this reel-to-reel with these giant silver hubs, put the LEDs across, or you change the lights in the receivers, anything you do to this can make that collection your own. So if you're collecting hi-fi, remember, you can customize a lot of this stuff. Let it fit your room, build a room around it, whatever you do. I mean, you could build something massive like this and have all the biggest monster and rare receivers on it, or you can have just one piece. It doesn't matter, whatever fits your house, your design, whatever you want to hear, whatever you want to listen to, you can totally customize it. Don't be afraid to try that. I mean, look at this. A lot of people wouldn't do this. It's the first thing I saw, the green meters, the black faceplate. Just customize it. It's like cars. You can customize everything, right? Now, going up top, we see some crazy speakers. So let's talk a little bit about what we got going on up here. Up here is the JBL Minigun. It's the smaller version of the Paragon, which is enormous. But what this is like a two-piece set that they actually have pushed together. So on the sides, you can kind of see the tweeters and the drivers over there. This is a very classic piece, and to see one in this good a condition is very, very rare. Now above here, we're gonna start with your like rare speakers. So starting out over here, we have the Century 100s from JBL. That's your like OG famous speaker. You see all the Maxell ads. Going over a little bit more, we're gonna go to the HPM 900s, which looks like it has the original driver in good condition foam. At least from here, it looks really nice. It's very, very rare to find it in that kind of condition. The third speaker up here is the Infinity Column 1. You can see that classic Infinity mid-range there. Not as familiar with that one, but it's a cool looking piece. After that, we have the Yamaha NS1000 up here, which is just a wild looking speaker. I think it's one of the most beautiful speakers out there. And then in the back, you have the JBL 166. And then over on this side of the room, of course, is the matching speakers. In case you were wondering where the other ones were, they're up here above your head. If that Hi-Fi Holy Grail collection wasn't enough for you, let's go up to the listening room where I was just jaw-dropped by the rarity of the items he had inside. This room has some wild stuff. In the first one, when you walk in, you see this VZ2000 boombox, which has the linear turntable on the front between the speakers and all the controls up top. So like, if you wanted a turntable on the go in the 80s, you wanted to rock out on the streets, that is your go-to. I don't know how much it's gonna skip if you're dancing with it, but that's a nice collector piece that's sharp, the EZ2000. We got a Thorns TD124 here. Got a Garrard 301, so these are gonna be your more vintage turntables, 60s, early set. I don't even know if the Thorns gets in the early 70s. I think that's gonna be your 60s. This might even go back a little bit more. But then a little more modern, this one is one I've never really seen before, the PL90 from Pioneer. This is a spectacular turntable. Look at that, it almost resembles a Dragon turntable. Beautiful wood, nice dust cover. You got these double suspension system on each foot to keep everything perfectly even. This is a wonderful collector piece here. Now, coming over, talking about collector pieces, we have it. This setup consists of the G22000, which is that two-piece receiver, which we did that vote on in the other video. And honestly, I never went back and kind of tallied it together, but I think the vote went with that it is a receiver and not separates, because some people consider it one or the other. But look at the size of this receiver. So it's a two-piece, sit one on top of the other, so it doesn't go as deep. I'm pretty sure you can connect them the other way as well. Like, it's built that this can go in the front, but that would just be so massive if that came out that you wouldn't really be able to put it in your house. So I think that's why they did that. Look at the size of that thing. It's amazing. Next to that, you have a Pioneer Elite lineup that's just ridiculous. A VSX 95. You got the CLD 95 Laserdisc, and you got the Pioneer Elite DVD. Carousel system, the DVF-07. It's just a while. Look at how the Pioneer Elite has the nice dark rosewood on the side and the gold trim. And Pioneer Elite stuff was amazing in the late 90s, early 2000s. I almost want to go back to the Sansui already because it's such a cool piece. You have a pair of original La Scalas, and up here you got your butt cheeks, Mikey. Or bust, whatever kind of guy you are, there it is. This is the 4430 studio monitor from JBL. So you have that classic tweeter up top. And look at the size of the driver. These are just some amazing speakers, and they had all their grills done with this tone of blue. So they would differentiate themselves from other speakers on the market. Got some more JBLs down here. Oh yeah, look at that. So these are your JBL L200s down here. You got the directional Harkness lens right there, and it was a signature for some of these JBL pieces. I'm sure this setup with this 22,000 is ridiculous. What would it be without analog tape, right? So we got a bunch of 10-inch roto-reels over here, all very, very nice. You're gonna start with your Akai, right? So you have your GX635D over here with the original Akai reel. Just a beautiful 10-inch tape deck. Maybe you don't want to go silver, maybe you want to go with the black. You got a TX X2000R, very, very popular. Or maybe you're like me and you want the silver Pioneer RT909 with both the original reels and even on display. Flipped it over, got the side 2 on this side and side 1 on this side. And then earlier we also talked about that CDP-101. I wanted to show you guys, this one is mint and comes with the original RM101 remote. Look how thick that is. I mean, that's thicker than my thumb. Just a wild time. That's what you want, Mikey. All your remotes to look like this. Underneath the CDP-101 is a Nakamichi Dragon, just in phenomenal shape. You can see how it almost just feels like a dragon skin there with the scales. They made all the buttons look like scales on that. Just a beautiful, beautiful cassette deck. And then here you have a Wollensak 8-track, because why not put some more tape into this system, right? It even has a Dolby noise reduction built right in. So lots of crazy, crazy stuff in this room. Bobby then took us downstairs to check out his office, which had a huge repair desk and behind it a rack of stuff that he was working on. I want to start over in the corner. So you have the JBL 4311 speakers right here. Kind of see up in there, right there with that white driver. They're in excellent, excellent shape. It's amazing that they're in that good a shape over time. These JBLs actually hold up really, really well over time, unless I am touching them. Then apparently they don't. These are cool. These are like miniature Bose 141s. They look like the 301s, but just a tiny size. That's pretty fun. I like that. Underneath, you got another Sansui 8080. Coming over onto this side, we actually have the bigger one. The 9090 is right here. And under that, you got an RX202. That's another one of those Nakamichi cassette decks where the door comes out and it flips the tape around. Very, very nice cassette deck. And under here, you have an SX1280. It's a little bit smaller than the 1980. And that 80 series is great looking. A lot of people prefer the 50 series. I like the look of the 80 series. It just glistens more. Like it's like that silver just sparkles. And over here you got a CTF 950. That's another one of those Pioneer cassette decks. We have the cover door, and it's actually a 3-head cassette deck. So some of these Pioneers were actually pretty nice. One of the biggest Kenwoods ever made, the KR 9600. Look at the size of that. I mean, look at this. Got the handlebars. It's just a beautiful, beautiful receiver. You got 4 meters. You got the tuner meters, the power meters. It's a great, great receiver. On top of that, you got a Denon DP60L, and then Macintosh MC2105. Look at the size of that guy. A lot of times you find these, they're so big and heavy that the glass is actually usually cracked and just pieces bubbled up and it's just all broken, but this one's in great shape. And then you go up here, at your Macintosh MX113 preamp, even with that nice little cover, it tells you what all the buttons do. A lot of times that's missing. And over here we have a CTF 9191. This is what I'm talking about, where you can have some motor issues over time, but still a highly regarded cassette deck. You got that nice door there covered up and giant meters on the front, and a lot of people like to put this in their racks. It's a great looking cassette deck. Then up top you have one of the larger Yamahas, the CR2040. You can see Yamaha made the receivers like way bigger than the typical 17-inch stereo component like you got in most other brands. And up top, I really think this is cool. We have one of these in my set, but Sony brand. This is a VTR component TV from JCPenney. You can just watch a little TV on there. It's pretty neat. We got another Luxman T88V that has that brick format in the tuner that I think is really cool. And then the matching integrated amp down the bottom, the L85V. So look at these controls. They're very unique. And this balance knob is also very unique. I wonder if that's original. I guess it is. But that's a pretty cool one. So just more stuff on the rack. It's just everywhere. All right, now we've looked at a ton of hi-fi today, but there's one thing I promise you we look at the end that I have never seen before, and it's very, very rare, so let's go check it out. So as you guys know, I'm a fan of the Pioneer HPM 100s, and they're one of my favorite speakers ever, but what I've never, ever seen before are these. This is the Pioneer HPM 1500, and you might ask, hey, I thought they were HPM 150s. They made 2 versions. They made the 150s, but then they made the 1500s, and the 1500s are a little bit different because this top piece is actually separate and can come off for ease of shipping. The other thing that's different between these and the 150s is this one is actually ported in the back of the speaker. So it's actually ported on the bottom of the speaker down here, and then you can see you can take these apart for easier shipping. Now these are in beautiful shape, and they have a 15-inch driver on the front of them. The classic HPM 100 tweeter and mid-range spread across the top, and then the super tweeter is this disc tweeter at the top instead of that little one that the HPM 100 has. You have this futuristic space-looking tweeter at the top of the speaker. It's just an amazing looking feat of technology for the 70s to have something this good, and actually compared to the HPM 100s, I have heard that these sound dramatically better, and that's hard for me to even imagine. Now, we really enjoyed our time traveling to Post Falls, Idaho to check out Bobby's collection over the past 3 videos, so if you haven't seen them yet, you should go back and watch them in order. But it just goes to show you that this stuff is literally everywhere, and there's collections of it all throughout the country. And hey, if you have one, let us know.